Right, I've been asked to do a brief overview of this particular item which I've just built this week. It's a loop switcher, and by loop switcher I mean an effects send and return loop switcher. So it will switch from those are the returns and those are the sends. It will switch each channel so that there are different effects loops. It's designed for the Blackstar HT 100 or the HT60 foot pedal to interact with it. So when you hit the clean switch, it switches to channel 1, overdrive 1 switches to channel 2, and overdrive 2 switches to channel 3. You plug the foot switch into this side, you plug the amp into that side with a cable. You have your effects loop on the back of the amp coming to the input and then coming to the output. So basically what happens is, if you switch channel to clean, you want specific effects on those on the clean channel that you don't want on the distortion channel, you set it up onto loop 1. If you want something on the distortion channel you don't want on the clean, you set it to loop 2. Again, the second overdrive or distortion channel you set to loop 3. Any other effects that you want on all channels, you just stick them into the line into the front as you would with a wah pedal, as you can see in the background, or the chromatic tuner which are down there. So the idea is that if I wanted a specific effect on the clean channel, like for instance a delay effect or an echo effect on the clean channel, I just stick it onto the loop, and so on, depending on what effects I want. It can either sit on the floorboard, so you can have a short cable to it from the floorboard so that you're just switching close to when everything's in front of you, so you can change your effects at the same time. It's just designed really so that if you want to kick into an overdrive or a distorted overdrive lead channel, so if you want to boost your lead, you can for instance put or you want to change the sound on your lead, you can put an EQ in line with it on channel OD2, and it will boost it sufficiently and change the feel sufficiently so it cuts through a bit better, and it gives you that kind of that better sound quality as compared to OD1. The thing is about the Blackstar amp is the OD1 and the OD2, the EQs on them are both on one channel, so essentially it just switches the gain channel between one and the other. So you can't physically change the EQ unless you have an inline EQ, which is kind of the idea. What I'll do now is I'll set it all up with a couple of pedals and show you how it works, a demonstration. Right, this is the black box with everything plugged into it now. So as you can see down here, we have the send and returns. This goes to the amp's normal foot switch socket. This is the foot switch socket that goes to the normal foot switch pedal. Now as you can see, as you should be able to see, the LED's on clean channel at the moment, and as you can hear, that's on clean. Kicking a distortion, well on overdrive. Just as an example. Now if I switch between that channel and the next channel, you should get rid of the, it should come up with a delay. There we go. So you can hear that. Now if we switch the distortion off, you can hear that's not made any difference because it's actually on the clean channel. So if we switch back to the clean channel with the distortion off, completely clean. Switch to the overdrive channel, it's got chorus on it, so chorus on OD1, echo, delay on OD1, sorry, chorus on OD2, and clean. You have clean channel, with an extra distortion. So you've got essentially 3 different distortions, the pedal and the other 2, the delay and the chorus. Obviously that wasn't the original idea for it. The original idea was to boost your different channels and maybe use EQ differently on each channel. And that's pretty much an overview of what it does. It's just because the Blackstar only has a single effects loop on it, it now splits it into 3 different effects loops. Basically what it's doing is hijacking the signal going from the amp to tell the LEDs to switch on the pedal, and when it senses that there's an LED switched on the pedal, it switches that effects loop into that. There is a bypass that you can do. If you completely unplug the pedal, it reverts back, so it bypasses everything apart from the effects loop obviously, but the effects loop, the way it's set up is the effects loop in and out. If you do accidentally unplug it or deliberately unplug it because you're having effects issues, it will automatically default to a throughput, so that the signal will continue regardless of what's going on the amp. So if you have a pedal failure on any of the guitar pedals, or if you have a pedal failure on the foot switch for the amp, then it defaults to the normal channel, as we'll see if I unplug it. There we go, I've unplugged it. As you can see, none of the foot switches work. You can just wander over and switch it manually. So it always goes back to that particular default setting. The one thing I did forget to say about this unit is it's specifically built for the HT 100 style foot switch. I say the HT 100, I believe it also works on the Blackstar HT 60 because it's the same foot switch. The foot switch type is a non-latching foot switch, so basically it's just a signal when you stand on the pedal, depending on which channel you want, it just sends a quick blip to the amp to tell it that it wants that channel, and because it does that, there's no way of setting it up with a latching type affair, so when it switches on, it's on. So the only way to do it was actually to work on the basis that the LEDs had power, so we needed to hijack that power to tell it the box when to switch. It's not a particularly difficult box to build if you're capable of using a soldering iron, and you have a little bit of electronics know-how. And I say a little bit, you don't need a huge amount. It's only a few relays, a few resistors, and a few transistors. In fact, 3 transistors, and the rest of it's just connectors and stuff. It probably costs somewhere in the region of around £30 to £40 to make it, just because of the cost of the bits. But if you want any further information, then by all means email me, and I'll send you out a diagram, or I may even be able to send you out a basic package of board and bits and pieces.